Let's get ready to rumble. It's our ADP showdown for wide receiver, and we're going to talk about some pairs of players that are going really close to each other in early drafts and rankings to see which one is the better choice. And let's start with the early rounds. Two wide receivers that are bound to be among the top taken, possibly top 5 receivers across the board. So you got Stefon Diggs, who led the NFL in receptions and targets last year. And then you have DK Metcalf, emerging star who could break out and I think could even be the wide receiver 1 this year. But who do you take at this point right now, Chris?
Yeah, early in the offseason, I was taking Metcalf ahead of Diggs. But as we've gone on here in the offseason, I'm starting to lean towards Stefon Diggs simply because of the offense he is in. You know, Russell Wilson, he's been a tale of two halves kind of for the last few years. He'll have one half of football, whether it's the first half or the second half, where he just plays incredible, amazing football. And then he has another half of football where he's just kind of okay. We know the Seahawks, they want to run the ball more. They've talked about it. They brought Chris Carson back. As much as I love DK Metcalf, I like Stefon Diggs just a little bit more because that Buffalo offense, we know they are a pass-heavy offense. They call a lot of passes. They run a lot of plays from the shotgun. That's just their MO. That's what they want to do, and that's great for Stefon Diggs. And also, I think the addition of Emmanuel Sanders will only help Stefon Diggs, take a little pressure off him. So for me, I've got Diggs just a little bit higher.
So I definitely see the argument that Diggs is the safer choice. And again, when you're that early, talking about round 2, typically for these receivers to be taken, you want the guy who you know is going to get that volume, right? We always say targets are the lifeblood of fantasy volume and points. But here's the thing. The way I look at it is Diggs, he had his career year, right? Tied to Josh Allen, who of course had, well, maybe his career year. Who knows? Could he improve on what he did, or is he going to regress a little bit? That's up for debate, but I'm going to guess that he does regress a little bit. This offense is largely going to be the same. So even if he puts up the same numbers and Diggs puts up the same numbers, I mean, that's great, right? He's definitely a top 5, if not top 3 receiver. Now, what about Metcalf? He's just going to get better, right? We're talking about third-year receiver. We're talking about tied to Russell Wilson. What happened last year with Russell Wilson? Is he declining? I don't think so. Everyone wants to say that, maybe he's peaked and that, this offense just isn't what it used to be. What happened is once Chris Carson was hurt and Penny, of course, was out all season, they didn't have a running game to lean on. And so everybody knew they could sit back and wait for the pass. I think Russ Wilson struggled because the running game wasn't effective. The running game will be back in effect. The whole offense will be better. Metcalf is just growing as a receiver. I think his numbers improve. Russell Wilson is on a mission to prove that he is among the elite quarterbacks. If you heard him talk all offseason. So I think Metcalf keeps getting better. Diggs, I think the best case is he puts up numbers similar to last year. Worst case, he might regress. So I like Metcalf. Anybody who's heard me talk about him for the past however many years, since he was in college, knows he's my guy. So I'm sticking with Metcalf. Now, a little tougher debate might be when you get a couple rounds later and you're looking for that high-end wide receiver 2. There's a lot of solid choices, but there's 2 of them on the exact same team, the Rams. And so we got Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. How do you see this debate? Because their ADP actually isn't quite the same. A lot of people taking Woods early, maybe even a round earlier than Kupp.
Yeah, this to me is like saying, pick between Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior. Like, you can't really go wrong with either of them, right? I think they're both going to have great seasons. I really like them both. I give Kupp the slight edge, again, simply because of what you said. You get him at a bit of a discount. He's usually going, half a round to a round later. I don't see either of these guys being significantly better than the other. I think, like you said, they're both going to be high-end wide receiver 2s, maybe even low-end wide receiver 1s, depending on how the season shakes out. So I really think you can't go wrong. But knowing that I can get Kupp, half a round or a round later, to me, makes me that more appealing. So like them both, but I'm going to give Kupp the slight edge.
Yeah. So how close are these guys in production and performance and all that? Okay. So last year, Robert Woods, 92 catches on 127 targets. Cooper Kupp, 93 catches on 126 targets. Their target share was basically identical. Is that going to change with Matthew Stafford? Well, we don't know. We would just be guessing here, but I'm going to say probably not that different. So it comes down to value, and I agree with you. Whichever guy comes later, you get that guy. If it's Kupp for whatever reason, I'm not even sure why. Maybe just because he's had a little bit more injury history lately. But I think that Kupp is a guy who could become more of the target magnet here for Stafford. Kind of his fallback target across the middle of the field. I prefer Kupp slightly in this situation. Now look for a couple of second-year players here at receiver, and both have interesting cases because there's going to be some changes offensively. One for sure at quarterback and one maybe. Laviska Shenault Jr. in Jacksonville. And then we have Jeudy in Denver. So are you going to go with the guy that might be the second or third receiver on his own team, but also could have a generational talent, Trevor Lawrence at quarterback, or the guy who is more highly touted coming out of Alabama? We're not sure who the quarterback's going to be for Denver, and it might be Drew Lock again.
Yeah, I'm probably a sucker for Jeudy, but I'm going to go with Jeudy. I think you and I both had him number 1 or number 2 last year in our rookie wide receiver rankings, and we loved the landing spot. Unfortunately, I think Courtland Sutton getting hurt was a big blow to him, and also Drew Lock was really bad last year. One thing about Jeudy is he's a great route runner. I know Shenault is going to have Trevor Lawrence, which definitely helps him, but you got DJ Chark there. They brought Marvin Jones in. He might be the number 3 receiver on that team. We're not really sure yet. Whereas when you look at the Broncos, who do you have after Courtland Sutton and Jeudy? You got Tim Patrick. He's okay. I don't even know if he's going to still be on the team. KJ Hamler, who looks like a wasted pick. So really, he looks like the clear number 2 receiver. Obviously, it'd be great if they got a quarterback upgrade, if they drafted somebody. But even if they don't, at least Drew Lock, if nothing else, is a gunslinger, which is usually good. Hopefully his accuracy will be a little bit better. So I'm going to give Jeudy the slight edge once again.
Going to have to agree with you here. So like you said, with Jacksonville, I do think they're going to definitely up the ante in terms of passing volume, of course, with Lawrence there. But there's a lot more mouths to feed. Who knows? They might even add a tight end as another pass-catching threat with Eifert gone. Don't be surprised if they swing a trade for a veteran or draft somebody in the middle rounds. But look, Jeudy is one of the best route runners in the NFL, period. I saw an interesting stat the other day that out of all targets that were missed targets that were directly the quarterback's fault, I don't know how they evaluate these things, but supposedly this is a fact, that Jeudy had the most at 26 targets that he was open and the quarterback, meaning mostly Drew Lock, flat out missed him. I would love to cheat and just say, look, this depends on who the quarterback in Denver is, but can't do that, especially if you're doing early best ball drafts. But look, Jeudy has the upside. He has the talent. He is pro ready, and he could break out if the right signal caller is in place. Even if it's Drew Lock, I'd like to think Drew Lock could improve his accuracy from last year. So I do like Jeudy. He should get more targets, and that he'll be open a lot. Okay, if you didn't already, check out our running back edition of the ADP Royal Rumble. Do that now, and we're going to continue this all offseason to help you prepare to make those tough choices on draft day, whether you're doing best ball, dynasty, or early redraft. We're here for you. Thanks for watching.